What's good, Tamers? This is Akaro from Lockout Games, bringing you another exciting match from Chaos Games in Minot, North Dakota. On your left is going to be Mastemon, and on your right is going to be Armor Rush. Now, you've probably noticed this video is pretty short, and that just goes to show how fast and how powerful these decks are. So, Armor Rush is going to go ahead and start off with Upamon, digivolving into the starter deck Veemon in the back row for 0, and then going to play a Hammer Spark into a double Hammer Spark, netting them 2 memory at the beginning of the game, which is great, and then going ahead and playing that jamming Veemon to end their turn with 1 memory. The Mastemon player on their turn hatches into a Upamon, and then goes ahead and plays a TK, getting the chance to look at their security and pull out the cards that they need. This probably goes to show that they need a level 3, as they don't have one in hand and would have digivolved on top of Upamon. So taking advantage of that, the Armor Rush player is going to digivolve into a Flamedramon using 2 memories since it's on top of Veemon, and then swinging in. Now this is going to give it 3000 DP for the turn, and that's actually on top of the Digimon. So if they're able to change into a different one, it's still going to have that plus DP. And then they swing in with the jamming Veemon, hitting a Witchmon. Its security effect is going to allow it to be played onto the field, and then on play it's going to allow the Mastemon player to take a level 5 purple Digimon and put it back into their hand. And before it's able to do anything too big, it's going to get hit with a Plasma Shot, not needing a yellow Tamer or a Digitama because there is an Armored Digimon on the field. So this is going to set the Mastemon player to 3, and it still looks like they don't have a level 3, so they're going to go ahead and play the starter deck Gautomon, looking for something out of their deck so that they can actually start digivolving in the back row and getting their cards. But it seems like they're a little bit behind as Flamedramon goes ahead and swings it again, this time drawing a card from the Upamon as Gautomon is on the field and doesn't have any Digivolution sources underneath of it. At this point, we're going to see the Lighdramon being digivolved on top of the Veemon. That's going to suspend the Gautomon and then allow the Lighdramon to attack into it with 5000 DP, getting rid of the board and resetting the Mastemon player pretty much back to 0. Then ending their turn, the Armor Rush player is just going to play down a Searcher Veemon, now having 3 Digimon on the field, 2 of them having armor, being able to survive even if they're swung into. And finally, we do see a level 3 Shakkoumon coming down in the back row for the Mastemon player, but at this point it might be a little bit too late. A Reinforcement Memory Boost is played, and that's going to allow the top 2 cards to be seen and 1 go into the security, but none of them have a lot of DP or really big effects coming from the security, so that's not going to really stop the Armor Rush player from attacking. And once again, the Flamemon goes in with 8000 DP, followed by the Lighdramon just wiping out the last of the security, and then the Veemon swinging in. It hits a Chaos Degradation, and that's going to send one of the Rush players' Digimon to the bottom of their security, giving them 6, but offering some reprieve to the Mastemon player, as it is going to leave 2 Digimon on the board. So you see here they're selecting which one they want, and they're going to decide and get rid of the Flamemon, and that's going to send it to the bottom of that security like I had mentioned earlier, wiping it off the board, and Armor Perch isn't able to get rid of that as it's not necessarily being destroyed, but then we just see the armor texture going on top of the Lighdramon, and it swings for game. As you can see, Armor Rush can really take advantage of the opponent not having the answers for the Digimon, but let's see what Mastemon has in store for game number 2. After both players get set up, it looks like the Mastemon player is going first, and they're going to hatch into Nyarramon and then digivolving on top of that with a Candlemon. It's nice to see that they have a level 3, and then they're going to play a Gautomon from hand for 5 memory that's going to let them search, but that gives the Armor Rush player a lot of memory, and that deck is really able to capitalize on that. I don't think that the searching was worth it, and they should have probably just digivolved on top of the Candlemon to keep the memory for the Armor Rush player as low as possible. So starting their turn with 5 memory, the Armor Rush player goes ahead and hits a Hammer Spark, going to send them up to 6. This leaves them with a lot of options and the ability to do pretty much exactly what the deck needs to do, which is get a lot of level 3s out onto the board and then start armor digivolving on top of them. And we do see the Veemon going on top of the Upamon, and then a Magnamon being digivolved on top of that. A really strong Digimon that also has blocker, and then hitting that Plasma Shot, getting rid of the Gautomon. And at that point, I don't really think that that 5 memory was worth it, as they still lost their Digimon even if they searched, and now they're not able to digivolve on top of it. We see a Shakkoumon going out for 3, leaving the Armor Rush player at 2, but at this point they have a really strong Digimon that's able to attack in, and it hits into the memory, the 6000 DP on that Angelwomon, not enough to take out the 7 from the Magnamon. And this is where the advantage to the Rush player goes, as they're able to start putting down more and more Digimon that are able to stay alive or at least search for what they need. And speaking of which, we see the starter deck Veemon looking at the top 3, pulling any card that has free, and it's going to hit the Classic Collection Veemon. At this point, the Candlemon is going to attack in because there's a purple Digimon on the field. They are going to get to draw a card, and it seems like they really need it as they don't have a champion to Digivolve into. And then the Cyclone goes ahead and swings in and hits probably the worst thing that they could, another Hammer Spark, sending the turn over to the Rush player and leaving the Cyclone vulnerable. We see a Upamon being hatched in the back, and then the Classic Collection Veemon being Digivolved on top of that. Right now, I would say the Mastemon player is in a lot of danger as they're not going to have anything on the board, and we see the Magnamon swing into the Shakkoumon. They might have more security at this point, but they have nothing in the back row. They don't have any Tamers, nor any Digitomon to Digivolve on top of for the next turn. And we see a third Hammer Spark hit the field, and then a Classic Collection Veemon being placed down. Right now that's representing 4 attacks to the 4 security that the Mastemon player has. We do see them Digivolve into the starter deck Salamon, and then the purple yellow Wizardmon in the back row. And it's looking really dire for the Mastemon player as the Rush player has 4 Digimon on the field, and we see the Fire Rocket hit the field and going to empower up the Magnamon. We do see a TK, so that might let them draw a card that can save them and maybe place one from the deck onto the security, but they decide not to take anything, which is not a good sign at all. They shuffle up their security and place it back, leaving them at 3, and then the second check from the Magnamon going through, hitting the Lady Devimon, but once again, just 6,000 DP is not enough to take it out. The next check is a Dead or Alive, but it's not going to be able to bring back anything that's going to keep them alive. They don't have any blockers in the trash, so they do go for the Godamon to maybe search for something, and we do see them pause for a bit. Both players know that the game is really going to be decided by what this next security is, so they're going to go ahead and take a quick little shortcut with the Classic Collection Veemon swinging in, and it is a Witchmon, so it's not going to stop anything, and then the last Classic Collection Veemon is going to swing in and take the game for the Armor Rush player. As you can see, this deck is pretty fast and able to take a lot of advantage of memory, especially with the Hammer Sparks, and doesn't really have to worry about the opponent swinging back and deleting their Digimon, as they can just Armor Purge if that does happen. If you enjoyed the video, please like, comment, and subscribe, as it really does help the channel grow, and I can't wait to bring you more Digimon card game content in the form of more matches from our locals, as well as deck techs. So with that being said, let's get that gate closed.